single fatty meal can activate the vagus nerve to release acetylcholine, telling immune cells to stand down. A rapid, food-driven immunomodulatory switch. We've been told for decades that fat is the enemy. It clogs arteries, packs on pounds, and stokes the fires of inflammation. That last part is true, but only half the story. Here's the twist that most nutrition guides miss. The very first bite of a fat-rich meal actually triggers an immediate anti-inflammatory reflex. Your immune system gets a quiet-down signal before the fat even leaves your stomach. And this isn't guesswork. A 2013 study published in the American Journal of Physiology showed this reflex in action. They gave mice a lipid-rich meal and saw inflammation markers drop significantly within 30 minutes. That's faster than most painkillers kick in. So how does a cheeseburger send a calm-down memo to your immune cells? The answer lies in your gut lining, where specialized cells called enteroendocrine cells act like taste buds for fat. They don't taste flavor, they sense chemical structure. When fat hits your small intestine, these cells release a messenger molecule called oleoylethanolamide. That's a mouthful, so let's call it OEA for short. OEA is a lipid-based hormone that does one thing. It finds the nearest vagus nerve ending and knocks on its receptor door. Specifically, it binds to a receptor called GPR119. Think of GPR119 as the fat-detected buzzer on the vagus nerve's control panel. This is where the reflex gets clever. The vagus nerve is a two-way cable. It carries signals from the gut up to the brainstem, but it also carries commands back down. When OEA binds to GPR119 on vagal sensory fibers, that fiber fires a signal all the way to the nucleus tractus solitarius in your brainstem. That's the relay station for internal body sense. But here's the twist. The brainstem doesn't just register fat detected and move on. It instantly sends a return signal down the efferent motor fibers of the vagus. This return signal is the actual brake, and it's not aimed at your stomach. It's aimed at your spleen and your liver, where key immune cells wait on standby. Now we arrive at the heart of the quiet-down system. The vagus nerve's efferent command releases acetylcholine at the celiac ganglion, a cluster of nerve cells just outside your spinal cord. Acetylcholine is the same chemical that talks to muscles, but here it has a different job. From the ganglion, acetylcholine travels to two major immune barracks, your liver's Kupffer cells and your spleen's macrophages. These are the cells that normally release tumor necrosis factor alpha, or TNF-alpha, when they sense an infection or injury. TNF-alpha is a major alarm signal for whole-body inflammation. It's like the fire siren that wakes up other immune cells. The vagal brake literally mutes that siren. The key player in this suppression is a receptor called the nicotinic acetylcholine receptor alpha 7, or alpha 7 NACHR for short. Immune cells have this receptor on their surface. When acetylcholine binds to it, a cascade of signals tells the cell to stop producing NF-kappa B. NF-kappa B is the master protein that turns on inflammatory genes. Without it, the immune cell cannot produce TNF-alpha or other pro-inflammatory cytokines like IL-6. In the 2013 mouse study, this whole pathway cut inflammation markers by a measurable amount within half an hour. It's not a guess, it's a measured biological response. The fat itself is the trigger, and the brake is built into your own nervous system. But wait, there's a catch that most people never hear about. The brake works brilliantly on a single high-fat meal. But if you eat that way every day, the system starts to wear out. A 2022 study in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry tested this on mice. They gave mice a high-fat diet for just 2 weeks. That's the equivalent of a few weeks of heavy fast food in human time. After those 2 weeks, they measured the vagal anti-inflammatory reflex and found it was significantly depressed. Why? Because the high-fat diet caused inflammation in the hypothalamus, the brain region that regulates energy balance and autonomic nerves. That brain inflammation lowered both acetylcholine levels and the number of alpha-7N-ACHR receptors on immune cells. So the same fat that quiets your immune system acutely ends up making it louder chronically. That's a paradox that explains a lot. It's why occasional high-fat meals can actually feel surprisingly calming for some people, while a consistent diet of fried foods is linked to low-grade, persistent inflammation. The vagal brake gets rusty. Think of it like a muscle. If you sprint once, your heart rate adapts beautifully. If you sprint every hour for 2 weeks, you're not adapting, you're exhausting the system. The hypothalamus inflammation from daily high-fat intake essentially dials down the brain's sensitivity to the vagal signal, so the brake pedal becomes less responsive. Now let's go back to the timeline. In the 2013 study, the effect was measured at 30 minutes after the fat was given. That's rapid enough to be considered a reflex, not a slow hormonal adjustment. The researchers used a model where mice were given an inflammatory challenge, lipopolysaccharide, or LPS, which mimics a bacterial infection. Mice that received lipid-rich enteral feeding had significantly lower levels of mast cell protease, a marker of mucosal mast cell activation. Mast cells are the immune cells that release histamine during allergies, but they also release inflammatory mediators during infection. The vagal brake directly calmed them down. The low-fat group and the fasting group didn't get that protection. How did the researchers prove it was the vagus nerve specifically? They used a surgical trick. They cut the vagus nerve in some mice, and in those animals, the fat-rich meal no longer reduced inflammation. That's a classic proof-of-concept experiment. It shows the signal has to travel through that specific cable. They also block the cholecystokinin 1 receptor, or CCK1R, which is another receptor on the vagus nerve that responds to fat digestion. When they blocked CCK1R, the anti-inflammatory effect disappeared. This means the reflex depends on both CCK1R and alpha-7-NACHR working in sequence. The fat triggers CCK1R, which fires the vagus, which releases acetylcholine, which binds alpha-7-NACHR on immune cells. It's a chain reaction. There's another layer that makes this even more interesting. The 2022 study didn't just look at immune cells, it looked at the brain itself. They found that the 2-week high-fat diet increased markers of inflammation in the hypothalamus specifically. The hypothalamus is the part of the brain that monitors blood sugar, fat stores, and hunger hormones. When it becomes inflamed, it releases inflammatory cytokines like IL-1 beta and TNF-alpha, which then act on the vagal motor neurons in the brainstem. Those motor neurons are responsible for sending the efferent brake signal. So the inflammation in the hypothalamus essentially dampens the very output that would normally quiet immune cells. It's a vicious loop that explains why chronic obesity and inflammation go hand in hand. Let's bridge this to humans. The same year as the mouse study, a separate human trial was published. Researchers used a human endotoxemia model, where healthy volunteers were given a low dose of LPS to trigger a controlled inflammatory response. Then they gave continuous lipid and protein-rich nutrition through a feeding tube. The result? Circulating TNF-alpha and IL-6 levels were significantly attenuated compared to a control group. This is direct human evidence that the vagal anti-inflammatory reflex is not just a mouse phenomenon. It works in people. The timing, the mechanism, and the suppression pattern all matched. So when you eat a fatty meal, your body is doing more than digesting. It's actively negotiating with your immune system. This brings us to the evolutionary perspective. Why would your body have a reflex that quiets immunity when you eat fat? Think about the environment our ancestors evolved in. Fat was rare and valuable. When a hunter-gatherer group found a fatty animal, they ate as much as they could. But eating a large meal triggers a mild inflammatory response as food particles interact with the gut lining. The vagal brake evolved to prevent that meal from causing a full-blown immune storm. It's a metabolic efficiency device. It allows the body to store energy without wasting resources on unnecessary inflammation. The brake is ancient, and it's built into the same wiring that controls your heart rate and digestion. Now, here's the practical takeaway that nobody tells you. The acute quiet-down effect of a high-fat meal works best when the fat is accompanied by protein and fiber. Why? Because protein slows digestion, giving the fat more time to interact with the enteroendocrine cells in the lower small intestine. Fiber does the same by creating a gel-like matrix. So a burger with meat, cheese, and a whole grain bun actually delivers a longer, more sustained vagal signal than a plain patty. And the type of fat matters too. Saturated fats like those in beef and cheese activate CCK1R more strongly than polyunsaturated fats. That doesn't mean saturated fat is healthy, it just means it triggers the reflex more robustly in the short term. But remember the 2022 study. The same saturated fat that triggers a strong acute break starts to depress that break when eaten daily. This is the paradox of adaptation. Your brain and immune system adapt to the chronic signal by turning down the volume. The hypothalamic inflammation from daily fat intake reduces the number of alpha-7N-AChR receptors on your macrophages. So after 2 weeks of daily high-fat meals, the same burger that used to quiet your immune system now does almost nothing. And eventually, it starts to do the opposite. The chronic inflammation from the diet overtakes the acute reflex. This is why intermittent fasting and occasional high-fat meals actually work better than constant grazing. The clinical implications are huge. For patients with sepsis or post-surgical inflammation, researchers are looking at lipid-based enteral nutrition as a way to trigger the vagal break and reduce cytokine storms. The 2013 human trial showed that continuous lipid-protein nutrition reduced TNF-alpha and IL-6 in volunteers with endotoxemia. That's a controlled infection-like state. It suggests that this reflex could become a tool in intensive care, not to replace drugs, but to complement them. And for everyday health, the message is subtle. Eating a moderate fat meal once in a while can actually calm your immune system. But consistent overeating of fat flips the switch. So it's not fat good or fat bad. It's timing, frequency, and context. Let's summarize the chain one more time, but with the numbers. Fat enters the gut. Enteroendocrine cells release OEA within minutes. OEA binds GPR119 on vagal sensory fibers. The signal goes up to the brainstem, then immediately down to the celiac ganglion. Acetylcholine is released. It binds alpha-7N-AChR on Kupffer cells and splenic macrophages. NF-kappa B is suppressed. TNF-alpha production drops. That's 5 steps, and the whole sequence takes about 30 minutes. That's faster than most oral anti-inflammatory drugs reach peak concentration. The human body built this reflex millions of years ago, and it's still running in you right now, every time you eat a fatty meal. So the next time you sit down to a fatty meal, remember your vagus nerve is already drafting a quiet down text to your spleen. It's a reflex older than agriculture, older than cooking, built to help you store energy without setting off your own immune system. But also remember that this text gets ignored if you send it every single day. The break wears out, the hypothalamus gets inflamed, and the quiet down message turns into static. The most science-backed approach is not to avoid fat, but to use it strategically. Occasional rich meals trigger the break. Daily heavy ones burn it out. Your immune system reads your patterns, not your single choices. Next time you have a burger, notice how your body feels 30 minutes later. Compare that to how you feel after a week of heavy meals. Your vagus nerve is logging every single meal, so treat it like the sensitive line it is. And if you found this surprising, share this with someone who still thinks all fat is bad. They might see their next meal differently.